and welcome to the Edit by Engage Creative. I'm Aimee.
And I'm Sophie, and we are the co-founders of Engage Creative, a wedding-based marketing business.
And we are here today to tell you some of the hard truths about marketing your wedding business that you probably don't want to hear, but deep down know that they are affecting your business.
Bottom line. Yes. Yeah. Oh, you go. So I guess let's start at the start. Yeah, at the beginning.
I'm going to say branding and website.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, I think, and we've been on this journey, so let me know what you feel. But I feel like when you're a new business, everything's scrappy. You're doing your logo or you're outsourcing it. And most of the times from my experience, when I ask someone for their brand guidelines, it's a one-pager or a very bare document that's basically logo focused, and then just a logo, maybe a couple of colors and a font or two. And I feel like for a lot of businesses, that's okay in the beginning because you're trying to get up and running and you're trying to do all of the things. But as you move into, say, year 3, 4, 5 of your business, that is not going to cut it in terms of standing out, especially in like a really saturated market that we have at the moment.
Yeah, and you really want to kind of, like what you said, stand out from your competitors. And when you have a really comprehensive brand guidelines or a clear website that is user-friendly, that showcases your work to the best abilities.
And is branded.
You have cohesive colors, cohesive fonts. It really shows that you are standing out from your competitors because you have an overarching aesthetic and kind of brand that you want to push.
Yeah, so I think businesses need to take a hard look at their branding and kind of assess it.
Yeah.
And say, okay, cool. How does this reflect the business that I currently have, but also the business that I'm building into the future? And that might mean that they need to do a rebrand or an overwork and have a look at, okay, well, I need to build out logos, submarks, patterns, other kind of graphic elements that are going to be unique to your brand that you can scatter across your social media and, as you said, your website. Then you have to look at colours. And I think colours are a really hard one, I feel, for like the wedding because you want them to be very classic. It's usually a hybrid of like black, white and shades of neutral because you've got wedding photos that you want to highlight and you don't want your branding around that to conflict and contrast with it
also,
too much.
Like to steer in the direction of your aesthetic. Like I think that if you're using someone else's wedding as your piece of content to use, having your branding kind of taking almost not a back seat, but letting your work showcase what is so incredible works well.
Yes. So I feel like that is always something really interesting to do and explore, and having like a comprehensive color palette that you can, have light elements, dark elements, contrast, and then obviously your font hierarchy, so your headings, your subheadings, your body, your quote fonts, and being able to consistently utilize those across your website and your socials is really important because, again, if people are on your socials and your graphics are interesting and they're cohesive and they're consistent, and then
their placement on stories is also consistent.
And then you're heading over to the website and, again, it's all cohesive in terms of your branding, like that's super important. But I think the one thing as well that a lot of people forget in that whole kind of branding sphere is your brand identity, and that's like your tone of voice and how you want to talk to people. And I think building that out at the same time is really important because that is then how you figure out how you're going to communicate in your captions, in your text, on your copy on your website, and then even how you speak and you interact when it comes to your marketing.
Yeah, 100%. Let's now talk about how posting does not just equal marketing. I think that is something that a lot of people have in the back of their head, that if I post on Instagram, if I post on Facebook, whatever platform, it equals that I am doing my marketing.
Well, I think you even need to pull it back from that. So many of the business owners that we speak to and come to us and want to work with us is because they don't have time. They don't know what needs to be done or what is working or isn't working. or they have severe paralysis analysis of what actual content to post. So by the time they've spent 2 hours mulling over if this picture is right or what this caption is, they haven't posted anything and they have to like move on to the next task.
Yeah.
So I think it all goes back to, it isn't just about posting for the sake of of marketing, but it's like you actually have to have a strategy.
Well, that then is a perfect way to lead into what I was going to say next is when we do work with every single one of our social media clients, we do an audit and strategy. And I think that every single business needs to do this because it is verbatim what we say. It is an audit of your account. So what you feel like is working well, what maybe some of your competitors are doing, what could be cleaned up on your profile, and then
where are the opportunities?
Exactly, opportunities for growth, what are different ways to build, and then a clear strategy for the next 12 months of, okay, this is where I see the direction of the brand, this is where I want it to go, and clear goals that we can do to get there. So we obviously do that at the beginning of working with all of our social media clients, but I think in not trying to sell our services, but like it really is fundamental in every single business to have a really clear audit and strategy of your digital marketing every 12 months.
If you think about it, you start a business with a business plan.
Yes.
So you start your marketing efforts with a marketing plan and a strategy. And I think as well, it really helps with the idea of like, I don't know what to post, or I feel like my efforts aren't doing it. It's just even simply going down and going, okay, what platforms am I going to post on? How often am I going to consistently do it to? What is it going to look like? Okay, cool. Every week I'm going to do an image carousel post, 2 reels and something else and go, okay, because this is what I want to achieve and these are going to be my content pillars and my talking points. And I think it gives people a bit of a foundation.
Yes, great
where
foundation.
They're not just like all scatterbrained and not knowing where, but it's like, okay, cool. I'm actually giving myself some parameters in terms of what I want, like what my marketing objective is and what I can do.
And I understand as a business owner, your marketing is actually one of the most important parts of your business, but it's something that if you're doing yourself, you have no time for because you get overwhelmed, you get like paralyzed with, oh my goodness, I have an image about a real bride and I feel like I need to talk about her, but I don't have the time. And then a to-do list comes, lands on my desk or whatever it is, we get it. But it is such a fundamental part of your business. So doing that audit and strategy every 12 months helps you identify those content pillars and helps you put into place ways to make it easier.
It's all about, making anything easier. If you think about anything of your business, you want to put in a system, a process, and it can be as detailed or as simple as you like. But I think getting that framework is going to give you more direction and going to make anything that you do from a marketing perspective more impactful. And I mean, like you said, we've got too busy and we haven't done marketing, and then we've seen how it impacts our inquiries and our business. And I mean, we took the big leap this year of actually taking our baby EC and delegating that to one of our team members to help us facilitate all of the marketing efforts because we wanted that dedicated time and effort and energy put into it.
Yeah. I think another thing that is great for other business owners to consider when they're looking at their marketing is analytics is your friend. Really dive into those analytics and
Can't believe you're saying this right now, Soph.
But like dive into those analytics and see what are your audience liking? Are they liking a specific reel or an idea or an image carousel? What are they really liking? And then help mold that to your next kind of marketing content plan or use it as your friend of knowledge and kind of...
Well, again, it's taking the guesswork out of it. Looking at what is working and what isn't working. The simple formula is see what's working, do more of that.
Yes.
What isn't working, do less of that.
Yeah.
And I think as well the other thing is looking at it on a regular basis because as we all know, with the algorithm and changes that all the platforms are constantly making, what's working for you one week isn't necessarily going to work for you the next week. So you have to be nimble with being aware of it, assessing it, and then working out what you're going to do going forward.
Yeah, I think this then also leads into another really great point, is that your mindset really does need to shift. It isn't about followers. It's about other key metrics within the wedding-based world that we really need to hone in on.
Do you know what I think it is? I mean, we've always had clients and people come to us and their main objective is followers, which we always discuss with them in terms of why is it followers. And a lot of the time it's a vanity metric. And I think what I'm seeing is there are a lot of personal brands that are growing and growing at really fast rates. And business brands are looking at that and going, well, I want that follower growth. But a business brand, unless you are as the owner or the director or whoever, are the face of the brand and are actively creating content as the face of the brand, a business brand is very different to a personal brand.
I also must say that a wedding brand is very different to an e-com brand.
Yeah.
You take, for example, you are a bride, you will start following your wedding vendors for, say, 2 years, and then you move on to that next journey of buying a home, having a baby. Those vendors that you once were following might not be relevant to you. So you unfollow and you move into that next journey of life.
But you talk about it goes from an inspiration, and this is an important point. It goes from inspiration to then when you get engaged, it then becomes research.
Correct.
And inquiry and assessing. And then they obviously, hopefully, become a client. So then, there's a lead time. So they're still interested in your brand. They're like, oh, that's my vendor. I'm so excited. Or I've seen this inspiration. So maybe I want that for my flowers or my styling or something. And then they have the wedding. And then, as you said, eventually they do move on to the next phase of life, whether that be baby or home or that kind of thing. But
that's why I do feel like that follower growth, specifically for the wedding industry,
fluctuates
needs to be fluctuates and doesn't actually need to be a metric that we need to follow. I'm really interested in shares, in saves,
watch time,
how many people are kind of sending it to their friends, what your DMs are like after you put up a specific post. These are the metrics that you really need to start looking into, rather than I want 10,000 followers.
Yeah, because what's the point of having 10,000 followers if they're not actually potential customers, if
Correct.
They're not bothering to interact with your content?
Yeah.
I would rather any day of the week have a small following of people that are actually invested, interested, keeping me on the radar for when that day comes, versus just having a whole lot of people that just don't interact at all and therefore aren't actually going to contribute to my business in any meaningful way. And by meaningful, I mean from a financial aspect at some point.
I think as well, the wedding industry, and this is obviously why we have niched down so much, because the wedding industry is so different to a beauty, to a lifestyle, to any other fashion brand out there. When people start following you, they're really geographically specific for some vendors, like a florist, like a hair and makeup artist. Venue, they are specifically geographically there. I'm not going to go follow a beautiful venue in the French Alps or whatever, because I'm not getting married there.
Well, so you might, but only as inspiration.
Yeah, but you've already capped your follower growth. So that's also another metric that I really want to hone into for vendors is, it's not about followers, it's about saves, shares, all of those really fun metrics we want to be looking at.
Yeah. Well, speaking of fun, I think that kind of goes to our next talking point, which is about content. I feel like when it comes to content, especially how I use Instagram or how I use social media platforms, is I either want education or I want inspiration or I want information. So how are you creating content and how is your marketing not only focused on your content pillars, but one of those three areas? Are you going to entertain them? Are you providing them with inspo or are you providing them with information? And it can be a combination of those.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, another thing is be willing to outsource. Like, I mean, it is the number one thing that we speak, and this is obviously why we have a marketing agency, but be willing to outsource because it is such a key part of your business, marketing. But like I said before, it does get left to the last kind of thing. But when you start putting in that time and effort, the results will come.
Yeah. And when you say when you start putting time, you mean you outsource it.
Yes. Yeah. But like the energy.
But putting the energy and the time into
Correct.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a very important, again, it's sometimes a difficult thing to go, okay, well, what's my return on investment? But again, I think, as you said, business owners are doing all of the things. And I think looking at marketing as a long-term strategy, you don't do a strategy or don't work with someone just for that quick fix. What is the actual intentional plan? What do you want your business to be like in a year's time or 3 years' time? And I think even like as a business owner, taking periods of time throughout your business journey and assessing, okay, well, what do I want to happen next and what do I need to do to achieve that? Okay, cool, my marketing's been sliding, so I really need to invest in that. Or, we had a client come to us and go, we're really happy with our marketing. We think we do really well. We're happy with the number of bookings, but we know we need to market, like we need to use TikTok as a platform and we have no idea how to use it. Can you give us some education around that?
Yeah.
And so I think, that's great. That's like being aware of that and going, cool, I'm ready to add on this element. It isn't just about like a straight marketing plan. It's like, how can I make it better or how can I utilize a platform I'm not currently using?
And that's why I do love our audit and strategy kind of service, because I feel like it's a really great snapshot of the 12 months of what you can put in if you are doing it yourself, or if you really do need to kind of outsource and pick brains of marketing girlies.
Well, I think you should always look as a business owner with how someone else can look into your business and give you some pointers. And that's not just talking about marketing. I mean, we have a business coach. She provides a lot of insights and things for us to think about in terms of our business. So I think it's a good thing to not only, and especially as a business owner, when you're like the sole person who's doing all of the things and you might not have a business partner like we have, or a team big enough, having a third party be able to give you some input into your marketing efforts or
it helps move
your finance
the needle.
business. It does. It
really does.
It's really important.
Yeah. Well, I hope that was a great little insight into marketing your wedding-based business.
I mean, a little bit of a tough love in terms of like
what you
branding is really important and also what metrics you should be following. But hopefully it's given you some inspiration in terms of really putting in the effort and the groundwork to establish a solid marketing plan, or potentially reach out to us and we can
and we can help.
Shameless plug, and we can help.